thing about sourcing products in China is anybody can go online, buy a sample, and the factory is going to do everything they can in their possibility to make that sample the best quality one that you get. And then when it goes into mass production, who knows what's going to happen?
If you just go online and just buy a random product that's the cheapest, it's probably not thought out for you and your market. And you cannot build a brand by being the cheapest. As proud as we are to make the blank, and now as proud as our manufacturer is to manufacture that blank, I want the folks that are selling MakerFlo blanks to have that pride, to understand why you're proud to sell that product.
Now, MakerFlo, a lot of our products come from China, some come from Canada, and some even from the US.
I think it's very easy to, in some cases denounce China or say why there and not another country or why not USA.
When it comes to the US, we're struggling to even get conversations going with people and even finding manufacturers, and we're not getting offered any subsidies to do it ourselves. Do you see any opportunities in the US with manufacturing and sourcing products in the US?
Oh gosh, I think this is going to be a very controversial topic. At the end of the day, what I want you to understand, if you come to MakerFlo, no matter where the product is coming from, Antarctica, Fiji Islands, Hawaii, Alaska, America, China, it's always going to be with quality, quality, quality in mind.
Welcome everybody to the Flow Studio. John and Mark here, and we are on podcast number 4. And this one is titled Behind the Blanks and Why Transparency is the Future of Sourcing Products. And John and I just got back from a 2-week trip, not really a vacation, but a business trip from China. And it's something that we love to do. And this is like our 6th or 7th time to China. And it's a lot of fun going out there, although the traveling is it's a 12-hour difference out there.
15
hour
difference.
Are you over the jet lag yet?
I have no idea.
I think I've finally gotten over the jet lag. And but this podcast is really, we're going to dive deep into the purpose of why we go to China and why we do the things we do. And we're going to be kind of going behind the scenes, pulling back the curtain on the factories we work with and how China does things a little bit differently, and just talk about the future of sourcing, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think starting off, I think you're talking China, and that's mostly because majority of our products come from China. But I think after this trip, it really opened our eyes on how manufacturing works, what it's all about. And something we are going to be talking about is potentially other countries, including the United States, and what's our experience like been, trying to source out of China. And I think that's important to kind of get the whole picture. I think it's very easy to, in some cases denounce China or say why there and not another country or why not USA. But I think we're going to get really into the weeds with real life examples of kind of the trials and tribulations of sourcing in general and what the future may look like.
Yeah. Now, MakerFlo, a lot of our products come from China. Some come from Canada, and some even from the US. And we'll touch base on how those things play a different role in sourcing and how MakerFlo does it. But along the way of our journey, we started something new this time. John and I have a new podcast. We have a new Instagram that we've linked to our podcast on our Instagram. It's called John and Mark. And so JOHN and Mark, MARC. So make sure you guys go and follow our new Instagram, and also be sure to follow the MakerFlo Instagram as well. And you'll get more behind the scenes stuff on what we're doing out there. And you'll kind of be the first to know what we're doing on our Instagram. And we posted a lot about our China trip there, and we'll continue to post some new stuff.
Yeah, I don't know who gave us permission to have that Instagram, because we've been posting left and right, but all kinds of stuff that's unreleased. So
I think we've got like 22, 23 hours worth of awesome video to go through. And John and I we let it rip. We let it rip at the factories, and we just recorded everything that we possibly could. And a lot of exciting things that we're going to show you guys in our videos that we have, and we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah, and I think we had a lot of learnings this trip, and I feel like we pushed the envelope not only between the two of us, but with our agent, with our factory, and we really took it to the next level where we got everyone feeling nervous, everyone feeling on edge, but it was all for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that same gusto that we went to China, we're dealing with, other manufacturers, whether it be USA or other places, and it's not really working out as well for us. So we'll get a little bit into that, but it's been a very interesting trip, and I feel like if you don't push the button a little bit, you're not learning, you're not moving forward. You can't innovate, you can't do these things if you don't push the button. So I think this trip for us was, for me especially, was eye opening, and I learned a lot from it, a lot from it. That's gonna help us in doing better, for everybody else that are MakerFlo customers. But not only that, but I think the factories and our team in China learned a lot as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm ready to go back. I think we're already planning to go back in either January or March, either before or after Chinese New Year, because in February they basically shut down for almost the entire month, and they give the workers and the factories time off to spend with their families. One thing we learned that was cool was that they open up all the toll roads in China. So during Chinese New Year's, there's no cost to really travel. They don't charge you to drive on the express freeways. You can essentially travel for free, obviously pay your own gas, or electric cars, which is another thing we saw out there. Is China has really gone electric in a lot of their cars. I would say more than like 50% of their cars already are electric. And the way you tell the difference between a gas and an electric car in China, it's very simple. It's the color of the license plate.
Oh,
So the green license plates in China mean that it's electric, and the blue ones mean that it's still either a hybrid or a gas one.
wow. I don't know when you learned that.
Yeah.
I was with you the whole time. When did you figure that one?
Sorry I didn't share that with you.
Wow, geez. Literally, you're spending time without me. We're thinking about these things. I
don't-
love random facts.
We went to the mall, and a really nice mall in China, and how many electric car companies were there that we never even heard of?
Yeah, I think there was actually nobody even. I don't think there was anything gas being promoted.
True, there
It's
wasn't.
all electric.
Yeah,
Yeah, even like the 4x4 looking, like the outdoorsy vehicles were like all electric.
yeah.
Yeah, and they were wicked. Well, even the vans that we took from
Gosh, those are
the
like
seats.
presidential vans.
Yeah, the seats were like presidential
Yeah.
seats. I'm like, where are these seats in America?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
They're getting quite advanced as far as automobiles go than we
Yeah.
have over here.
Well, I mean, we've been going there, like you said, for 6, 7 years, and we definitely see things advancing. I think a lot of folks have a misconception about, you know, China being this place where you're constricted, and
Yeah.
it being like the communist nation it is. You think that, oh my God, it's so strict, but I think we felt like more free and more safe than we ever have. Like,
Yeah, I don't
we'll
think
talk about that a little bit.
yeah.
It was kind of crazy.
They don't live in fear at all. They're enjoying life and having a great time, and it's super safe. I didn't feel like I had to watch my back over there.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like my luggage was going to get stolen. Like, it's safe.
Yeah, I think the worst experience we had, and maybe this isn't professional at all, but I think the worst experience was we were out with our agent, and we were going back to the hotel at like what 12 o'clock, and there was just a drunk guy on the front of the hood with all his friends, and they kept apologizing, and then they left, and that was
Yeah.
that was probably the sketchiest thing that happened. We were in China,
Yeah.
everyone's just having a good time, and everybody's very respectful, which was incredible to see, like how much respect like you're given, and almost to the point where even I had to actually kind of watch myself out as I was, walking around. Like, am I being disrespectful? Like,
Yeah.
I was overly cautious about it just because how much respect and like love we got from everybody, right?
Yeah. So if you guys hear us talk about a guy named Junior, and we'll get into what Junior does for us, but he's basically our boots on the ground in China, and he works for MakerFlo, and he is a big part of sourcing products, negotiating with factories, visiting factories, inspecting quality and stuff like that. But there was a point in the trip where I asked Junior, I said, Junior, like, do people here even like get upset or mad? Because I haven't seen anybody like shout and yell, like, the traffic and the road rage. There's no road rage. People cut you off and they're like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, it's okay. I'm like, this is crazy. I haven't seen anyone mad over here. Everyone's like happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like everyone is I don't know about not forgiving, but understanding. I think everyone's just like understanding. I don't feel like anyone's like I didn't feel like anyone was like in a rush. Like, I don't know. It's a whole different vibe. I
Mhm.
can't really explain it, but if I was to say anything, everything was very calm. You just kind of walk around, you just enjoy yourself. I, I mean, there wasn't even police present. Tell me one police officer you saw there.
Yeah.
It was
There's
nuts.
not very much police. Well, that's because there's cameras everywhere. And if you're not wearing a seatbelt, or if you're not even wearing your helmet on your scooter, the camera might take a picture of you and you get a ticket in the mail. So yeah, the police wasn't very much. Although I did get pulled over.
Well, that's different. That's it. That's a random traffic check. Yeah, I got a traffic checked and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and it worked. It worked. They got me, pulled me out of the car at a traffic stop and asked some questions, and but we got a warning and went on our way. Okay. Yeah. Well, enough about enough about the trip of China and well, I mean, it is incredible, experience. But let's get into the podcast a little bit and what all our learnings was and things like that. So I see the first topic here that we have is the old way versus the new way. So yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when we talk about the old way of working with China and the new way of working with China, there's been a lot that has changed in a short amount of time. I would say about 15 years. In about 15 years, things have changed drastically, and what comes to your mind when we talk about the old way versus the new way?
So my family, if we go back, we've been in sourcing and manufacturing, like my extended family for, gosh, like probably 40, 50 years. So when you talk the old way, I mean, I can go way back.
Yeah.
Our family is actually known as traders, like even beyond 50 years.
Yeah.
And so the old way was sort of always like, I got in the conversation online in a group about, why do we do not have a private page and a private login to come and get special pricing that public can't see, right? So in the old days, what used to happen is you had somebody that had the means and the capital, meaning you had somebody that had the money to get into business, right? In the old days, people didn't have capital, right? But the people that did, they had access. When you had access, the barrier to entry was really difficult to get things overseas. You didn't have the money to go travel and spend, in the hotels and the planes and the eating out and, going out there and finding this manufacturer in China or any other country and traveling and figuring it out and translators and resources. And,
Yeah.
now we can just go on Google and translate it in 2 seconds, right? We were in a town where we were looking at the menu and you just went on your phone and you're like, boom, so what the menu says what you need to order. I mean, that was not available, right? So the barrier to entry in the old way was difficult. So when you were able to figure it out, you had an upper edge. You had an edge. So having those private pages, having a private entry, making sure that, hey, do you have a resale certificate to come and not have this? And you have this, you know, specific area for people to do business to come and order from you. It was there, right? I think the old way was barrier entry it was difficult. It was hard. The new way, however, has totally changed. The access to China, to India, Philippines, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all this has become easier and easier, right? You can easily travel there. You can easily go online and get in contact. The factories now have websites. Now you have trading companies.
Yeah.
It is not difficult. There's no having an edge for going direct, right? And I think that's the big difference that where corporations and Walmart, I mean, Walmart started in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, they had a leg up. They were going, direct to China. They had a leg up, right? It was difficult back then, but they had the capital. They figured out a business model and they had that leg up. But now you can compete to some aspects with Walmart.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the old way was, like you said, reserved for people that had money. We're talking about big corporations, people that could really control the market and had the access to capital to buy containers worth. But nowadays, with technology and Alibaba and access to the internet and factories taking lower MOQs, which stands for minimum order quantity, anyone can get their foot in the door. Oh, I remember back in 2005 when I was doing e-commerce, there was really no such thing as Alibaba. I used to contact my competitors, and surprisingly enough, some of them would sell me their factory information or their list. I used to go and buy lists from either contacting my competitors directly or just like going on chat forums and buying some random list, and it was just a list of emails. Then I would just email like these 15 so-called factories, like, "Hey, can you like tell me what you do and what you have? And this, I'm looking for, these products."
Yeah.
And now it's just totally streamlined with logistics and shipping and air shipping and freight shipping. Anyone can get their foot in the door.
Yeah, and I think China is moving so fast with that. I mean, just seeing it was first manufacturers and even contact manufacturers, right? Now they have this network of trading companies, and what most folks don't know out there is if you're dealing, on Alibaba, the chances that you're dealing with a trading company are probably like 75 to 80%. You're not directly dealing with a factory. And all a trading company essentially is, they're just sales agents that work on commission, or they do the markup from a factory, right? And so I think their network of trading companies has become so strong, and the go to market has become so much stronger. The fact that the factory doesn't have to deal with overseas payments and the trading companies deal with them has made it so much faster for the manufacturer that they are preferring to deal with the trading companies more. The trading companies make it easier to access international markets, where be it, you know, United States, France, it doesn't matter. Like we go and talk to these trading companies and these manufacturers, and we ask them, "Oh, where are you trading?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're trading with Europe, we're trading with France, with Africa, and we're trading with," and it's a whole different conversation, right? And these trading companies are making it easier by having translators and things like that. And there's this entire network in China that they've built to have direct access to China.
So speaking of trading companies, if you're a business getting into importing products from overseas, what would be your advice to somebody that's trying to find a factory? Would you say, hey, it's good or bad to work with a trading company?
So what I with me, it doesn't matter who you work with. If you work direct with a factory or a trading company, with me, and what I look for and my secret sauce is whoever you're working for and whoever you're working with, do they understand what you do? That's it. That's all it comes down to. Whether it's a 50 cents more or 50 cents less is a moot point. Because if you find somebody that has no idea what you're doing, what your purpose is, and what you're supplying, they could give you a product that you're going to have a total loss,
Yeah.
right? A great example of this are watch boxes. Watch boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. We still have 18 pallets of watch boxes sitting that we're unwilling to sell because the manufacturer did not understand our requirements and we can't sell them. And those 18 pallets of watch boxes is a $40,000 swing that we're just at a total loss of, right? So you tell me whether negotiating, because I think a lot of people, when you ask that question, a lot of people are like, well, I want to go direct to factory so I can save money. It's a moot point. We work with the factory,
Yeah.
right? And we lost 40 grand. So tell me,
Sure.
does a dollar per unit matter, or does having somebody that truly understands what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your standards are, what your QA process is, when do you need it? Why do you need it this way? And are they willing to listen? I mean, these are the important things. Not and then the price comes too, but it's not as important because I think a lot of people chase the price and they chase the cheapest product, but there's a lot of caveat to that.
Yeah. I think it's important to understand that a lot of these factories, they don't even speak English.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to them that they work with trading companies, because they are their voice to the other countries to do business and to get the sales for them.
Yeah.
And it's an important factor, because if you want to go direct to the factory, right, to get the best price, but you're going to have all kinds of communication issues and they're not going to want to work with you. Your MOQs might not be bigger, but a trading company can collectively maybe take groups of orders together, communicate better to the factories to really understand what you're saying is, the quality standards, and understand why you want that product made and what the purpose of that product is.
Yes. You'll have someone to hold accountable.
Yeah.
And a lot of these trading companies, on Alibaba and stuff, they'll have reviews. And it's something that, I think in America, we really like, if you go to Amazon, one of the biggest things is reviews, and you can leave reviews, you can read reviews, you can see how they're doing, and make sure you make an informed decision. But I just want to reiterate, and all of that, if you're sourcing direct, if you're going to China, whether you're going through a trading company, don't worry too much about price. The price is something that, I mean, I deal with the price last. I get the initial cost, and we all know, like, okay, we start at $10. Then I go in there, and I mean, I'm pretty harsh. I wouldn't say harsh. I'm not even demanding, but I let it be known what we want, and then I negotiate at the end, because I want them to know that price is not what's important. I just want them to know that everything else is, and then we deal with the price at the end.
Yeah.
But I like to know at the starting point where the cost is, because I mean, if it's like so high, then it's no point even working on a product. But we're coming out with a new product line, and I know you're in the chat, and you see, I mean, Mark hasn't, I think he hasn't contributed for the last 3 days in there. I am just going to town on this factory. And the funny part is that they're enjoying it, and they're like, wow, there's not been one person that's been so involved in making it. They just rely on us coming out with a product, right?
Yeah. I know you've been putting a lot of emphasis on quality, in the products that we work on, But what do you think gave rise to that stigma when people hear that if it's made in China, it's of low quality?
Oh gosh, I think this is gonna be a very controversial topic. Um, I think to some aspect, it's our own doing. I think, and this is why, um, I think this is why it's so important to understand that I think in America, we just got so used to wanting the cheapest, right? And when you want the cheapest price and when you want discounts
Yeah.
and when you want that, you don't leave, you know, someone like us with a choice but to do that, right? I mean, if you want a BOGO, well, I can't really afford a BOGO at $60. I can if I cut corners,
Yeah,
right? So what am I going to do as a supplier? I'm going to go to China and be like, all right, make me the cheapest thing so I can afford this BOGO,
exactly.
right? And so now BOGO only like we only do it like once a year, and I don't think we're going to do it this year because that's not the way MakerFlo is. That's not what we do. We have quality products, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of other companies they get stuck with this is like they're trying to just beat each other in price, and the only way to do that is to cut corners, have an inferior product, and the only place that knows how to cut corners and give you the cheapest is China, right? They have the biggest infrastructure to get that low. And I think it's us demanding it. Um, and I think that's why China has that bad name. But in the last 7 years that we've been traveling to China, slowly we've been learning that if we just ask,
Well, that's the thing is they're so used to making the cheapest stuff that they're used to making crap product because that's what the buyers have been asking. We've been trying to see how far our dollar can extend itself and trying to cut corners and get the cheapest thing. And there's been, no one's been overseeing the quality of the production. They're just like getting the cheapest thing over, and then it ends up not being a good deal.
yeah, yeah, and that's essentially it's like whatever we focus on, whatever it always follows demand. Right? Whatever is being demanded is what's gonna be supplied.
Yeah.
Your supply will follow your demand, right? And so that's exactly what's going on. But I think I think through our trips to China, we're flipping that switch. Now, I'm not gonna say that we're godly and we're training the entire, like the retail industry, but within our blanks industry, I feel like what we did this last trip was absolutely amazing. I mean, what we were able to accomplish, how we were able to change the mind of the factory,
Yeah.
how we were able to flip the switch of our of our agent, and how we were able to just absolutely get them excited to supply for MakerFlo is what gets me excited. I mean, the hammer factory, we worked with them for 6 months. And the owner came out and basically was like, wow, that was a pain in the ass. But now that we know what you want, we are excited to supply the rest of your
I
order.
think it's been incredible to see that feedback from the factories we're working with and how we've been challenging them on improving QC, quality check, and going above and beyond. And they're like, oh, this is different. This is exciting. Finally, somebody here to challenge us, not keep doing the same crap every day in and day out. And us being there to be able to see, the fabrics being used and the processes being done. And why did you make that hole that size when it doesn't require that? Because when you engrave it, you're gonna blast right through that hole on that handle, like some of these things we
Kitchen
can't
knives, yeah.
kitchen knives. We would never understood that if we didn't get our hands in it, and you got to make a kitchen knife yourself from the beginning.
I think it goes. I think I mean, one of the epiphanies I had was how how are some of these bigger suppliers sitting in America and extending the feeling of pride for what you sell to China or to any other manufacturer? How are you supposed to do that? By just buying something random online, right? And I think this time when we went, we were proud of what we were talking about. We were proud of the improvements we were making on our products.
Yeah.
And I think that really showed and extended into our factories where, I mean, I was shocked for the videos that we took in the factories. They were like, no, 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 please come here. No, show this.
Yeah.
They were, in fact, we were like, okay, we're ready to go. I'm like, no, no, you didn't show that. And I mean, the pride that I saw from our factories and our agent. And like, there was like a couple of times where I was just done. I'm like, it's hot. I want something to drink. I want to get out of here. But they kept us then. They're like, no,
Yeah.
you need to film that. I'm like, okay.
So, we told Junior from the beginning of this trip, like, hey, there's some new factories we're looking at. And if they are not willing to let us, as their potential buyers, to come in and record and make videos, then we don't want to work with them. And there was a few factories that he had reached out to, and they were like, no, we won't allow that. So you know what we said? So unfortunately, we can't work with you either because we want to bring that transparency to the American market, to our customers, to let them know from beginning to end the quality standards that MakerFlo has.
Yeah.
And, okay, some of those factories we never worked with before, so we haven't built that trust. I can see that. But for, I think, all the factories we currently work with, we didn't get anybody turning us down to go in there and make videos.
No, and I think I was very shocked about that. I thought they would want to, hold on to what they're doing, or maybe there was something, they were doing that was like, I don't want other competitors to see this, but no, I think if anything, they were like I said before, they were like, no, please come here, please go here, please film this, please film that. And they were totally open for us to come in and show the entire process.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, I was taken back. That was incredible that they allowed us to do that, and we're thankful for that. But I think like times are changing.
Yeah.
We're bringing transparency. We're pulling the curtain back. If you can help us show our customers why things are done differently, it'll only bring them more business.
Yeah.
Right. It's the clear window now, and we're showing that.
Yeah. I think transparency all the way around. And, when I think when you, it's like, what we say, it's like, you got to focus on the 1%. You got to focus on every little thing, because when you go to sell that product from MakerFlo, we want everyone to not sell on price. We want, as proud as we are to make the blank, and now as proud as our manufacturer is to manufacture that blank, I want the folks that are selling MakerFlo blanks to have that pride,
Yeah.
to understand why you're proud to sell that product. I want you to be absolutely enamored with what you're making and what you're giving, and have that trust in our product, that it's a quality product built with intention, built with goodness. And when you're going to sell that product, I don't want it to be about price. I want it to be about pride, that you engraved a product that was built with pride, was made with pride, and was sold with pride. And that when that recipient receives it, it's going to be all smiles. Right. And I think at the end, that's what we're going for.
And that's the same mentality we've taken into the factories too. A lot of times we don't even ask for the price up front. We have to let them know our requirements and make sure they understand the purpose of the product, what solution this product is bringing to our customers, how our customers are going to utilize this product, and how we can improve that product. And then we ask for the price. So we're taking the same mentality. We're not just going in there and saying, okay, what's the lowest you can do?
Yeah.
How can we get it cheaper? It's like, no. Let's take a step back. This is what we're looking for. We want to understand how it's made, how we can make improvements, and change the game.
Yeah. And I think, unlike most situations in the past that we've had, we ask them for a price, and we've always tried to get it to be cheaper.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time where we have literally gotten a price and our cost has increased. We're like, no, add this, add that. No, that stitching looks like crap.
Yeah.
Like, we need better stitching. Okay, it's going to be extra. I'm like, okay, yeah, make it extra. I mean, he had a problem
with that.
Yeah, we're okay with that. And I think the factory, it's so funny because they're like, it's going to be so expensive. And they tell us, and I'm like, that's not expensive for something you're proud about.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound expensive? I mean, and we've had to even ask them like, okay, if you go buy a car and there's supposed to be a paint line and the paint line is crooked, are you going to buy that car? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, then why are you getting this product?
Yeah.
Is it going to cost more? I'm like, okay, then charge us more. But I want my pride to be bigger than the price.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I want my pride to be bigger than the price.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I'm going. If you don't feel proud about what we're doing here after this podcast or after our trip to China, then there's a problem. Because that we went to China with gusto, And again, this is not about only China. We're going to get to the United States here pretty soon. And yes, I definitely, I'm very passionate about what we're doing with the products that we're
Yeah.
servicing.
So what's the difference of just like finding a product online versus actually creating a real product? What's the difference between that? And talk to me about that.
So with me, it's very simple, right? If you just go online and you just find a random product, the product was built for a reason, but it might not be the reason that you built it for,
Exactly.
right? We have be good, do good, spread good, right? And we build our products based on y- your recipients,
Hmm.
right? The secondary to that is how we built a good product that when somebody opens it, they're gonna just be absolutely wowed, right? Then the second important things for us is how we built a product with that in mind and made it easy for you as our customer to be able to engrave it, to be to have a gift box, be a simple process in your, there's a lot of things that we think about. So if you just go online and just buy a random product that's the cheapest, it's probably not thought out for you and your market, right?
Right.
And I think that's where the pride comes in. Like I'm very passionate about that. This is why it takes forever. This is why the hammers took 9 months. It's just a dang hammer.
Yeah.
No, but it took 9 months because there's a lot of thought in everything from how thick the paper is, the GSM, the foam, what kind of foam. Okay, why are there two sets of nails in there? Okay, why did we do a measuring tape? There's a level. It's two-sided with engraving. It's anodized black. Why is it anodized black? Why is the head black? Why is it magnetic? There's a lot that goes into it, right? And it takes 9 months to do it. There's also a reason for the sizing of the package because of the master cases. Okay, when you get the master case, there is so much more when you sit and talk about it. But you can just get a hammer off Alibaba. Go get it.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, if you want to get a hammer on Alibaba, please go get it. You can probably get them for about $2 a piece, and have fun with a lawsuit when the hammerheads fly off. So, good luck with that. We would. I was thinking about this. I have no problems telling people where to get all the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
You want a tumbler? Go for it. They're like $2 a piece on Alibaba.
Yeah. And then we squeezed the tumbler and just like crushed because the thickness of the walls was nothing.
Absolutely. I'm all about that transparency. Like you can go and find them, but there's a reason we have slaughtered all our products and we have gotten down to the nitty-gritty of every part of that product to make sure that we are prideful for what we sell and you guys get good products and your customers enjoy the products.
Yeah. When I think about sourcing products in China is anybody can go online and buy a sample. And the factory is going to do everything they can in their possibility to make that sample the best quality one that you get.
Yeah.
And then when it goes into mass production, who knows what's going to happen? But what we're doing is we're getting our feet on the ground over there and we're building relationships with our factories. We're building trust so that the quality standards can be upheld and maintained.
Man, this podcast is getting me riled up. Ah, I I that's such a good topic to talk about. I think with our QA, we have Junior over there doing QA, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the uh, first products that we really went ham on was the hammers.
Yeah. So let's
And
let's talk about that and like talk to me about like MakerFlow's approach to sourcing and how that is different from maybe an Amazon seller. How is MakerFlow sourcing different from maybe just somebody on Amazon?
yeah, um, well, on Amazon, it's a fight to the bottom. On Amazon, it's the game of Amazon is basically how do you get the most views and how do you get the most sales to get the most reviews to get the most last month sold, right? They're not as focused on why you're buying the product or for whom. They just want to find. I mean, you can find Amazon tumblers for $3.50,
Yeah.
right? And all they want is cloud. They want it's all and so I think Amazon is a marketplace. It's very important to understand that a marketplace, right? Just like Etsy, it's a marketplace, right? And I think it's very important for everyone to understand when you get into a marketplace, there's competition, right? And somewhere like Amazon, where the traffic is high, the demand is high, right? The demand is high, right? Suppliers are coming in. and they want to service and get as much of that demand as possible.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that, a lot of these suppliers are not thinking about you. They're just thinking about selling the cheapest product and selling the most of it.
Yeah.
Right. And with that comes cutting corners.
Exactly. And what was interesting to me is some of these factories we walked into and talked to the factory owners, some of them are selling directly on Amazon themselves.
Yeah.
And what that tells me is that I don't think they truly understand the pain points of their customers. They are solely just looking at them being profitable and them undercutting the market that's currently on Amazon.
Correct.
And that's all they're looking at. And then it causes more problems for the American buyers because they're just pushing crap out there to just keep their factories going. And I think that's a huge problem that, more companies like us need to get into this and get deep into the factories and see how we can do things differently to provide a better quality product.
Yeah, I think this really goes back to like what you were talking about earlier, which was, you know, I think Amazon has sort of created this marketplace, but it's also created this marketing where we can all undercut each other on the retail sense.
Yeah.
So you can get these tumblers for $3.50, which is great, but it's not like you're selling them for $35. I go to trade shows and stuff, and I see online people are selling them for $15, $20. So instead of talking about the value of what you provide as a business owner and the pride that I was talking about that you put in your work and sell, and that added value and the added price you can put on for 25, $30, now you're just basically doing the same thing China is doing, right? Which is you're giving the cheapest product and then you're retailing it for cheaper than the other guy. And the fight now becomes about price instead of building a brand and selling your value. And I think that's my biggest gripe with the entire industry right now is sell on value. Don't sell on price, because you'll never be able to go to another product and sell it at profit, right? If you're known as the guy that sells the cheapest thing, then you got to find the cheapest thing every time. When you find the cheapest thing, it's not going to service you or your customer. So you're not going to be able to build a company or a brand. And I see that so much online. Like, I don't have sales. I don't have this. Well, you have to build a brand, and you cannot build a brand by being the cheapest.
And there's no longevity in that. It's only a matter of time until somebody comes in with a cheaper product. They've cut more corners. They found ways to make it cheaper, and boom, there you go. You've built your whole brand, your whole business on price, and it can just get undercut at the knees. That simple.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I see is, the trend that happens that I see is like you're selling it the cheapest. Now you're fighting with the thousands and thousands of people that are buying the cheapest, right? And then you're wondering, okay, how do I get more business? Then I see people asking, what if I do paid ads? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And paid ads is a absolute black hole. And I think I see a lot of folks that are now doing paid ads and they could just never get ahead because they don't understand their numbers. They're never profitable. They're sitting on inventory. They're sitting on this. Your profit is basically just going down the drain. And, it's difficult. And having been in business for so long, this is probably for another podcast, but there's this weird spot where the cash flow is just enough to keep you going, but you're never profitable. You're not making money. It's just this false sense of, I'm doing good, but you're really not, because you're not profitable. It's just the money that's coming is just enough to pay the bills.
Didn't buy it.
Yeah. And it's, and you're doing this for 2 years and you're doing Uber, you might be doing other things, and you feel like you have this massive business, but you have to be profitable. You have to build a brand, and, you have to be able to do that in order to grow to truly be a business. Now, if that's not your goal, it's a whole nother story. But if that's what it is, then you have to build value. You have to build value.
Absolutely. Now, we spend a lot of time in these factories, and let's dive a little bit deeper about the MakerFlo difference. And one of the factories we spent a lot of time in fact, really the whole day we dedicated to this factory, is one of our main factories. And this factory basically produces just for us. And that's our tumbler factory. I'm sure a lot of people listening or watching this are just like, guys, tell us, what is it like to just be in a Chinese factory? What's it like to walk in there? What are the sights and the sounds and the feelings? Talk to me about what it's like just getting in the factory and what you're seeing in there.
Humidity, heat, a lot of Chinese, a lot of products everywhere, a lot of machines going. It's freaking loud. Um, organized.
Yeah.
I mean,
How about efficient?
I organized and efficient
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I think one of the coolest things is that Chinese have somehow done manufacturing and warehousing upwards. I think that's different.
Like,
Like,
it's crazy. You don't even see that here, even in our own warehousing. Like they've got 4, 5, 6 floors on some of these factories. Our tumbler factory is what, 4 floors tall?
yeah. But I think the kitchen knife factor was incredible. I mean, we were doing like buffing and sanding like on the third floor or something.
Yeah.
Remember? Where I touched the metal right out of the grinder. I was, oh,
It's like product either work their way up or they work their way down. It's kind of interesting how they do that. And the elevator systems they have in these things, man, they can hold like a forklift 50 tons and then massive forklifts go in these elevators. It was incredible to see this, the way they move products up and down and through the systems.
yeah. I mean, remember they have roll up doors on like the third floor because the product moves up, gets finished and packaged like on the third or fourth floor, and they crane it down. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a different world. But it's incredible, and I think it's it's inspiring. Like, you know, you go through it, but you know, let's talk about the tumbler factory a little bit. How cool was that? I mean, who knew that when you get the when it truly gave me a lot of appreciation for I think tumblers should be more expensive.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, the freaking number of steps to make a tumbler, I had no I mean, I had an idea, but this was the first time that we truly made it from scratch to finish.
Yeah.
It was talk about that. That was incredible.
I believe there's at least a dozen different machines and equipment used to make the tumbler. Maybe even 15 different machines that are used to cut, to weld, to solder, to polish, to sanding, to capping,
I mean,
welding.
there was just one machine that took off literally like 1/32nd inch of metal from the tip of
I
the
mean,
tumbler.
you talk about consistency. They needed every tumbler to be the same exact height, and so
Yeah.
they had that little mold template thing that went on the top, and they would just slice, if anything, just a sliver of that before it went to the next process. But there were also a lot of equipment and machines for testing. And one of the ones I knew was one of your favorites was the hot rod machine. Tell me about the hot rod tumbler machine.
Yeah, the hot rod machine was I like that. We should name that the hot rod machine. So it was cool. There were these rods that came out of this machine, like maybe like 20 of them, right? And I don't know what goes under it, maybe propane or something like that. But basically you put the tumblers over these rods and bunch of heat comes through. It was 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
and it goes 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit inside the tumbler. And you basically, you know, touch the outsides to make sure that heat's not coming through the double wall. That's when you know it's truly insulated. So that was really cool to see that QA process and understand like this factory was legit, like providing good product because they were actually testing every tumbler before they were sending it out. And I'm sure on that $2 or that $3 tumbler on Amazon, they're not doing that with all of them, right? Because it's an extra step. It's kind of a quick step, but it's an extra machine. It's an extra step. It's very laborious because it's not automatic that you're checking on the outside of the tumbler. It's like a field test. And this person was just going to town with that. And I thought that was like incredible that we had that step and we were testing every tumbler. Now, I'm like the first person to be honest, it's not foolproof, but shoot, she was taking out quite a bit of, you know, rejects. So even if we were able to take out majority of the rejects and we have a, you know, 0.5% rate or 0.75% rate or 0.1% rate, like I'm pretty happy that we can at least take out majority of the rejects.
Now, and who knows if other tumbler factories even have that equipment or have even invested in that kind of equipment because maybe they just don't care.
Yeah.
No, they're just trusting the fact that they're doing the best they can and it is what it is. I might have a 10% that hold that ice, might have 90%, that are good and 10% is bad.
Yeah.
But our factory has gone above and beyond and invested in that equipment to make sure the quality is there.
Yeah, I think, not speaking for anyone else, but I'm just happy that we do that quality test.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's like one of the biggest things about a double wall insulated tumbler is that it's insulated
Yeah.
and we're actually checking it before you receive it. So I think that makes me feel better that we're doing it. And I knew we used to, I mean, I knew that there was a process that we did testing for, but this time we have video of us actually doing the testing.
Yeah. And
So-
and that's just a test for the installation. There are
Correct.
multiple other tests for inspections on the metal, if it's dented, scratched, the painting and the coating, if that's dented or scratched or any spots that need to come out. So it was impressive to see all the different spots that they checked the quality along the way. It's probably about 4 to 5 times before it even gets finally packaged.
Yeah.
And Another one of the things I wanted to mention is, there's like this myth when I hear people say in the States that, oh, it all comes from the same factory. Oh, it's all being made in the same place. Well, yeah, it's all being made in China for the most part, but we were in the tumbler city and there was many, many tumbler factories around the area. And I just want to debunk that myth that it all comes from the same factory because, for a matter of fact, our tumbler factory isn't even online. They're not even on Alibaba. You can't even find them.
Correct.
And we work exclusively with them and they're pretty much exclusive with us.
Yeah.
And I think that that needs to be brought to light because there's got to be hundreds of tumbler factories out there and they all have their different ways of doing it, their different processes, their different machines and equipment that you're not really, no one's really privy to that.
Yeah.
But we went in there and we got to get our hands in there and make one.
Yeah, I think there was I think we were going to the paper box factory and we were stopped at this one junction and you and I remember having a conversation. We're just kind of looking around and you were like, "Hey John, do you notice like in America we have like retail shops everywhere where everyone is selling, right?" And this really stuck with me. And you went like we like drive around China and you look at any building and it looks like a residential, but instead of retail, they have manufacturing. Like, a manufacturing could be in 500 square feet, it's 1,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet, or 5,000,000 square feet, but it's almost like there's more manufacturing than retail, right? And in the States, it's more retail, and it's, like, difficult to find manufacturing, you know? And so it's like a whole different dynamic, and I think that really spoke to me, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. When we go to the tumbler factory, actually, forget the factory, when you go to that town, I mean, you see more trucks with rolled steel than anything.
Yeah, that was crazy.
These trucks going with like 10-foot rolled steel in the back, right? And like not one, but like they're just going around, and that I mean that city is serious. It's
Yeah.
tumblers, you know.
Producing tumblers for the whole world.
Yeah,
And it's not just the US.
yeah,
Like China is producing for the world. Got customers in England and Africa and all over the place.
yeah,
It was incredible to see because in the US, like you said, like we talked about, we are just consuming on every corner.
yeah,
Every corner you go to, there's a retail store selling something. In China, it's difficult to even find a mall.
yeah. It's
And
usually centralized, like in the main city.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's like one mall, and in every building you go into, they're making something.
yeah,
It's like incredibly wild. I'm just like, my mind just goes so curious. Like, ooh, what are they making over there? What are they making in there? Like, I just want to walk into all the buildings and just see like what they're making. It's incredible, but I didn't want to be disrespectful and just get kicked out of anywhere. But a lot of times they have the doors open and there's machines going. You're like, oh my God, I wonder what they're doing over there. It looks so crazy.
yeah. It's definitely different. But that was a really good observation, and when you pointed that out, I didn't even think of that because it is incredible. Like literally, you think it's like a residential area, and next thing you know, like holy crap, there's manufacturing, and
Yeah.
and the manufacturing could be on like the second or third floor, so you just never know sometimes, right?
But incredible, like their cities are so like centralized and like, yeah, they build up. It's not like America where we have like an acre of land is our property and our house, and we have all this space. Like they live in flats and they live in these apartment style buildings that are, some of them are like 20 to 30 stories tall
Yeah,
and very simplistic living. We got the opportunity to go into some of these buildings and some of our factory owners took us to their homes and they're very simple.
it's minimalist.
And then you'll have like 15 to 20 of those tall buildings all in one community. And God, you've got to have like tens of thousands of people living in these like centralized areas.
But
It's
but
incredible.
like I think again we're going a little off topic, but I think one of the things you see is like if your house is not big,
Mm,
right? Which a lot of them, the apartments and things like that. I feel like a lot of the folks are mingling. They're out and about in the parks.
yeah.
They're out and about like traveling. They're doing everything outside the house. In America, what do we do? We sit, we snack, we TV, right? And for the most part, like we've gotten used to the big houses. We've gotten used to the comfort in our home. But I felt like they're like, for example, we we were at the factory, right? And one of the factory owners is like, "Hey, like I have to go pick up my kids. Do you guys want to come?" And we're like, "Yeah." Like where is it far? And she's like, "No, not at all." She was like, "We're just gonna walk there." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We're gonna walk there." And it's hot and it's humid. And Mark and I start walking. And I think 5 minutes in, we're like, "Where is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's just behind that building over there." And I think for the next 10 minutes, you and I were just complaining. And when we got to the school, I was like, "Wow, we're so entitled and spoiled."
Yeah.
What did it
Yeah,
take?
like, we're taking an Uber over here? God, over a half a mile down the street, I'm sweating over here.
Yeah, but over there, it's just so normal, and it's not like they don't have a car, that they had a car and things, but it's very normal there to just go out and about and enjoy, what the city and the country has to offer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
um,
Well, anyways, back to our tumbler factory, and we've been working with this factory for over 7 years. And John, I wanna ask you, like, when it comes to MakerFlo and the relationships we have with our factories, building those personal relationships are very important to us. And talk to me about how has that benefited MakerFlo and in turn our customers with these close-knit relationships that we've established with our factories?
yeah, so, I've had a philosophy for a long time that and it keeps coming up. You've said it multiple times, and I just never forget this philosophy, right? Keep in mind that whether it's our customers, whether it's our customers' customers, or whether it's our team members or whether it's our factory, right? We give these designations, right? Oh, customer, retailer, blah, 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 manufacturer, international business, whatever it is. At the end of the day, I think what people just really need to understand is we're just dealing with people, right? We're just dealing with people. If a contract is the number one thing that you're gonna say like, "Hey, what is this? Who is this manufacturer? Oh yeah, this is a contracted manufacturer." No, we know everyone that we work with. To most extent, we know everyone's family. We've hung out with our manufacturer's family, their kids. We've spent time with them, and I think with all our manufacturers, the at the personal level that we're at the transparency we have with them, um, as honest we can be with them, and at the human level we have the connection, whether it's even with our influencers, whether it's with our customers, whether it's with other vendors, whoever it is. I think we've built that relationship from a people perspective versus a money perspective, and I think we've been able to establish that with China over the years,
Mhm.
right? We've really understood that. We've had them understand that. I mean, just with the tumbler factory, we went with them, and like half of the people that came was their family, right? And they're very comfortable with that. And I think what happens with that is we all work as a proud team, right? And when we come in and we tell them that, see, it's not even about the money. When we come in and tell them that we want to develop this, we want to do this, we want to do that, they give their 2 cents.
Yeah,
They're like, no, don't do it this way. Like that doesn't meet your
yeah.
standards, right? And when they feel that pride in our business and when they understand our customers, I think it makes the product that much better. It's our goal, right, to literally if MakerFlo comes out with something, I want it to be known that our motto in the back end here is quality, 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 right? It's that pride that we take to make that product. And I think our manufacturers now understand that with our relationships, and I hope that everyone really sees that when they get our products.
Yeah, man, be good, do good, spread good. It really comes to my mind, and I think the relationships we've built have really saved us a lot of heartache, time and time again. And we were at the quality inspection, the final quality inspection of the tumblers before they got packaged and then shipped out, and it was incredible to see the the parts that they rejected.
Yeah.
And some of those were like minute little nick under the screw cap, and I was like, "Wow, really? Like, this is impressive," but because we've established those relationships, they want what's best for us, so we can continue doing business, and I think that was just incredible to see them being so nitpicky on things, and I was appreciative of that.
Yeah, and I guess what to learn about that is that, don't take no for an answer. They're so used to, I think providing the cheapest option that that's all they know. But bringing them out of that habit, it takes time, right? And but it's possible.
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest win we had from this trip. The amount of no's we converted this trip was absolutely incredible. And now the quality and the standard of product that's going to be coming out of MakerFlow, especially with the new product lines we're coming out with, I'm extremely excited about.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, let's kind of talk about the next thing here, and you've touched on it that we're going to talk more about it, and it's really, the quality without borders and going into multiple borders, and what is MakerFlow doing to explore other country based opportunities for sourcing products? Where else have we looked at? And let's kind of talk about that a little bit.
so let me start off with this. So, you know, with with sourcing and with the business, demand is what sort of gets the supply, right?
Yeah.
Wherever there's demand, the supply will sort of follow, unless we supply something so trendy that the demand follows that. But usually, for the most part, it's like what's demanded is, the industry like, okay, let's service that demand. And, obviously, um, you know, one of the big demands that we've had is the made in America products,
Mhm.
right? And so we have started to look into that, right? And we're like, okay, we will service that. We will bring something good from Made in America. But let's come back to that. So we have looked at and dealt with other countries. We've been to India, we have looked into Thailand, we've looked into Vietnam, and I think a lot of people are just looking at price again. They're like, "Oh, well, you can get it here and it's cheaper." Oh, well, but there's a lot of caveat to that.
Yeah.
For example, raw material cost, quality check, quality of manufacturing, efficiency, the dependence on whether these factories even have the infrastructure.
Mhm.
We do look at like, is there child labor? Right? Is there any how are the labor practices? How are the labor pay? I think a lot of people may not see that side in the background that, we're going to these factories and we're looking at these things. In fact, we actually questioned our factories in China about these things, and they laughed at us saying, that's like a 20-year-old myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, that doesn't fly here anymore. When we went to our humidor factory, when we went to our box factory,
Yeah.
I mean, we talked to them about, we were just jokingly saying like, hey, like the air quality here probably, sucks. You guys probably, I hope you guys are wearing respirators. And they looked at us and they go, we get inspectors here like nonstop, making sure that so I think a lot of things have changed, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like, again, this might seem like such a we're pulling for China so hard, but I mean, it's kind of difficult. We're just talking spitting facts,
Yeah.
right? Like we go here and the QA is good. The quality, like of the factories that we go to and we've approved, like, you know, from top to bottom, they've just done a really good job over the years. They've really understood the assignment. They've been improving. And it seems like no matter where we go, China just has their stuff together.
Yeah.
And even if we, go to these other countries, I feel like if we run into problems in China, we can always pivot faster and be faster, get that same quality. But in any other country, the infrastructure is just not there.
I mean, do you see any opportunities in the US with manufacturing and sourcing products in the US?
Oh, Mark, okay, you're gonna be like
Like,
that.
give it
I,
to me.
well, I, I, yes and no, yes and no. I mean, yes, but only for certain products. Only for certain products that we might have somewhat of an industry. Only for certain products that, m the US is good with, for example, manufacturing. We do furniture. Leather is something that we do here. Box making is something we do here. It's not massive, but it's there. Cutting boards is something that we have an industry for. There are certain things we have industry for, but I think the place we lack is volume, right? And, volume and efficiency and a big facility brings price and cost down, right? That's just the way it works. But I think we have a lot of boutique manufacturing in the US, but we just don't have that much large scale manufacturing. So if, 3, 4, 5 suppliers, let's say if we just go out for cutting boards, it's gonna be very difficult to find a manufacturer that can support our volume.
Yeah.
Forget price, but
Yeah.
just volume, right?
Now,
So
in China, the limiting factor we have in the US, I think, is partnering factories. There's not enough partnering factories to do what we need to do, because in China, when you think about just the tumbler, you've got so many factories, multiple factories involved to get that finished product, right? And then the raw materials themselves, if it's being manufactured in the US, a lot of those raw materials are coming from overseas anyways.
yeah,
So that's a challenge right there. But when we look at China, they've got the relationships to partner and get the product made in the most efficient manner, because the tumbler might be made in one factory, but that lid to that tumbler might be made in another factory. And then you need the box For the packaging, that's made in another factory, but then you need like a foam insert or a plastic sleeve, and those are multiple other factories.
Yeah, the box is 2 factories. It's the paper that's being made, then the gluing is a whole different thing. But the crazy thing was we went to the lid factory, and how far was that?
It was just around the corner.
Yeah, but if you go for like it, and that's the thing in the US, that industry is not there. The supporting industry is even bigger, right? There's the manufacturer, but the support that you need to do it is not there. And I don't know if that question is fair. Like, is it possible? Yes, right? And that's where I hesitated. But is it possible efficiently? Is really the question, right? And if we want to work together collectively to change that, then I think that it's not only us as consumers and distributors that need to do it, but I do feel like, we would need a little bit of help in the form of subsidies to move faster, right? And what I mean by subsidies is programs from the government that would really help us energize, manufacturing in the United States. I think doing it alone, if we were to rely on MakerFlo to do it alone, we just don't have the capital to open a 10 million, $20 million factory, right? It would really have to be a push from your top 500 or top 2,000 companies that have the cash flow and can support manufacturing here. It takes $20 million to 2025, maybe 30 million. I'm not sure. That was a kind of a crazy setup for tumblers, but
Yeah.
that's just for one product. How am I supposed to do this across the board? Right. And I think the bigger issue is like, now you know this, for the last 8 months, alongside you, I've been trying to find someone to do cutting boards.
You've been looking endlessly in the United States of America to find a wood manufacturer to do cutting boards. And you've been, man, I don't know how many phone calls you've made, 20 to 30 phone calls, whether it's locally in Arizona or across the states. You've been trying to find a wood shop to make cutting boards. And you've had some that have agreed, and then they just ghost you, surprisingly,
Yeah.
and you don't hear back from them. But it's been an incredible challenge for you to get somebody to make us product. And whether it's 50 pieces or 50,000 pieces, they both have challenges for both of those numbers. And talk to me about the issues that you've been coming across.
Hosting. That's the
Yeah.
biggest one. Like, I think I keep telling everybody, just talk to me, right? And there's one thing, like I'm getting prices, right? And I'm at the point now where I think in order for us to support this, right? Now you have to understand this. If MakerFlo has certain margin we have to make, we have our own overhead. So if we're buying in bulk, if we're holding in bulk and like we're selling in bulk, we have to mark it up,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there's no that obviously.
Yeah.
So, but the cost is coming out to be so high that I almost feel like us as MakerFlo should just have a marketplace on MakerFlo. Instead of holding the product, we just somehow figure out how to ship it from different manufacturers to at least give it a chance for made in America to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's like a something that we can help with support, because otherwise, like, I'm not really seeing how we're going to do this. I mean, if we even just look at cutting boards, the same exact one we get from China, we're gonna have to wholesale it for us to meet our margins for like 45 to $60.
Yeah. Which is like 5 to 6 times X what we currently sell it for.
Right. And I mean, we did a poll and stuff, and there's a small minority of people that are willing to pay that. But if you're reselling it, I think it gets difficult. If you're using it for yourself, you might be willing to do it, right?
Yeah.
But it gets very difficult. But it's to the point where, I think that the small manufacturers are unable to do that volume and meet our requirements. And so, in order to do that, it's just more expensive. And to meet our standards, it just becomes that much more expensive. And I think a lot of people have to keep in mind that as suppliers and distributors, it's not about what I like. It's not about what you like. It's whatever the demand is. So if we even provide a made in America board and it's $60, and if the demand is unwilling to pay it, we're not going to continue with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not going to push a product that's not selling and we're out capital. And I mean, at the end of the day, we do have to run a business.
Yeah.
Right? And it does become difficult. But I have been on a journey. It's an 8-month journey, and maybe like we're going to talk more about it later. But I tried that with cutting boards. Now I'm trying it in leather, and that's been a whole, like, I got ghosted again. It's been like a week and I got ghosted. And so to some extent, like, I don't have, it's difficult. I don't have, you know what? If you're out there and if you're watching this tag someone that you know in manufacturing for cutting boards for leather products. We're desperately looking. I've called, I've emailed, I have DM'd, I've got ghosted. So I mean, let's use the power of the internet and spread the word. Like MakerFlo is looking, um, reach out to us. John and Mark is our Instagram. Just reach out on that. Tell them to DM us, and we'll take a look at it. But I mean, I'm honestly like lost for words. I spent a lot of time for this. I'm a little frustrated. Um, and honestly, like I'm not gonna say like we're easy to work with because we have high standards and high requirements because that's what MakerFlo products are. So I'm not gonna reduce my,
Sure.
I was talking to one manufacturer in the US and they were like, well, if we make the board thinner, nope. I'm not gonna make the board thinner. I'm not gonna have our boards warp and crack just so I can meet a price. No, you get the same standards as China does. I'm not going to reduce my standards just because the price needs to go lower because that's how low quality products comes into the market. So I'm putting it out there. Let us know. We're open. I've tried to get quotes for 5,000 cutting boards, and I've tried to get a quote for 1,000 cutting boards per month, and I've been left hanging. So it's a cry for help, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, you've had issues where I've heard them say on the phone to you, well, my kiln's not even big enough to handle that much wood. It will take me 2 to 3 months to make a couple of thousand cutting boards.
Yeah.
And so then there's challenges with us being able to scale with an American manufacturer. They might not even be able to keep up with the demand that we require because they've got other projects they need to work on. We would basically be taking up their whole production run for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't make sense to them.
Well, yeah, and the other way to look into this really is, Mark, I think we're afraid that it's not gonna sell because in our industry, everyone is fighting to price the cheapest.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, booze cutting boards out there, they're selling them for 150, $200 and people are buying them,
Yeah.
right? So if our industry just changed their mind on how they sell, which is on value, then Made in America could possibly get a chance.
But should Made in America even be these types of commodity products? Like, maybe Made in America should just be focusing on more, technology things and microchips and plain parts and things like that.
I mean, I think that's the direction. uh, it all depends. I think bringing manufacturing back to some extent for some of these products that are very laborious. I think the question to ask is if you're with a group of people, and especially if they have kids, right? Especially if they have. Let me ask now. Danny's sitting behind me. He has kids. Danny, what are you aspiring your kids to become when they grow up? Beyond that, as a career, whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a doctor or whether you're an engineer, we go to China and good people is definitely something that's on top of a lot of people's list. But let's talk about career. What are you aspiring them to be in terms of their career?
I mean, whatever it is that their desire, like our oldest one, he's been playing baseball for years since he was 6, and now he's an opportunity to go, play at a college. So, whatever it is that they
So pro ball. Your top choice would be pro ball.
Probably pro ball, obviously, who's dream is not right, like, especially if you love that sport, right? So yeah, absolutely. Football. I know there's a path, right? But I know that there's, like you said, there's a work ethic, right? And there's a work ethic and how much you invest in yourself, right? So the quality is up there. It has to be standard. It has to be high up there, right? Now there's a 1%, 2% percentage that a kid makes it to the major leagues, right? So that percentage is really high, and the quality of that player is to the max.
So basically, what Danny's saying is that he wants the chance for his kid to become a pro baller, right? And it's a 1% chance to become a pro baller.
Mhm.
Why didn't you talk about that with that much passion that your child should be on a manufacturing assembly plant?
Why shouldn't I?
Yeah. What could do you ever see yourself talking about? I wish that he was, on an assembly plant making cutting boards at the top of his quality. Is that going to be even your top 3 thought?
Probably not, because that's not in the situation. but obviously, if a role of like that is what he wants to do, then absolutely.
You would support that,
I would support.
but that's never been in conversation.
No.
And I think that's where it starts. It starts at home, right? If you talk to the people around you, ask them if they're telling people to get on an assembly plant,
Yeah.
right? And are we making a future generation of manufacturers?
Or even the entrepreneurial spirit. Have you ever heard a kid say, "Oh, I want to own a factory. I want to manufacture this. I want to make this. I want to innovate these products." You don't hear kids in America talking about those kind of entrepreneurial ideas,
Right.
let alone the workers to work in them. That's a challenge in itself that we don't have enough of those workers inspiring to work in that kind of field or industry. The kids these days, they want to work in technology, they want to become doctors and nurses and professionals, influencers, yeah, videographers, things like that.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is, us as a society, us as an America need to make the made in America, choice if we really want to go that way. But it needs to be an all in. It needs to be an all in from buyers, from suppliers, from our government, from our companies. It needs to be an all in thing. It can't be a one sided thing, right? And this is why I say that if we want to take in pride in what we do and go made in America, we don't stop because I don't get a response. Okay. I'm not gonna stop looking because if that's what you want,
Yeah.
I'm gonna search for it, but I'm gonna find a damn solution. And the solution might just be to open a marketplace on MakerFlo where different small manufacturers can sell on our platform.
I think that's what it is. It's got to be small.
Right. Well,
There's
it
nobody
has
that's
to,
doing
but
it on a
but this is how
scale.
you build the industry.
Yeah.
If I can cut ourselves out from making the margin we need to, from holding the product, from distributing the product, and the manufacturer can take that on, well, that cuts a lot of margin out. And maybe that's what we got to do because everything is very expensive in America. And if we make it more efficient, then maybe it has a chance to grow to the point where we get more efficient, the pricing gets better, and we can get to a product. I mean, we can get to a model where we can potentially, and at some point, increase that manufacturing and that industry. See, it's not an argument, it's a solution,
Yeah.
right? We don't argue with each other. We just have to figure it out. And right now, that's the solution I'm coming to because I mean, I can't even get a conversation. I can't even get a conversation by telling someone I have this big order. It scares them. I don't even know what to do and how to talk. So again, if anyone has a solution, like reach out. We're like an open book, an open door, and willing to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, there you go, guys. We have so much to talk about when it comes to China and manufacturing and the efficiencies there and the success we're having there. But when it comes to the US, we're struggling to even get conversations going with people and even finding manufacturers. And we're not getting offered any subsidies to do it ourselves. That paperwork hasn't came across my desk, or we would consider and entertain that at the least if that came across.
And if there is something like that available and we don't know, like let us know. I mean, I'm all about it. I haven't stopped. And people are emailing us on our emails asking why we aren't. I give them the answer like, well, this is why it's not happening. It's just I'm asking, but I'm getting ghosted. And I don't think I'm a prick or anything, but I don't know. I mean, I just have I'm giving you the same standards and I'm giving you the same, you know, QA and everything that we're giving China. So if I have to reduce my quality standards for America, that's like kind of retro. It's like it's going the opposite direction. It doesn't make sense,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, any closing remarks, John? I know we kind of did a nice recap there, but any last words you'd like to say on podcast 4 Behind the Blanks?
No, I think the bigger picture here is, for Mark and I is that we want to really make sure that the product that we're providing and the service we're giving you guys, the reason for this episode is beyond the border and we didn't put China is because no matter where we get the products, for us there's no borders, right? Whether we get it from the US, whether we get because we're holding even the US to the same standards.
Yeah.
No matter where we get the products from, I just want the listeners to know it's gonna be the quality that it needs to be at for you to be able to personalize it efficiently and for your recipient to absolutely be blown away with what you get. And I think that's the big takeaway here. I know we talked a lot about China, but it's not about China. It's about where we can get the best products. And in our travels, in our talks, fortunately, that's been the place that's been the most receptive, That's been the place where it's been the most efficient. That's been the place where we've been able to manage our capital the best way to get the best margins and to get you the best price. And I think that's the way to think about it. And now that we've worked with different countries, we're trying the Made in America thing. No matter what anyone says to me, if you say that you have to go Made in America, but if I have to sell a product that I don't believe in, then and if I have to sell that product for quadruple the price, then why even have MakerFlo, right? What's the point? What are we actually supporting? Bad manufacturing, right? You just really have to think about that. I think taking a logical stand and an unbiased stand is where I would stand with it. Being logical about it. And I think there's a lot of people that just come in and say, well, just buy in America. Well, it's a little bit more complicated. That it's not that easy. Yeah. If I was to give you a product that has no marking Made in America and Made in China, and the Made in America product is, 10% of the Made in China, and you pick the Made in China, how would that make you feel? Are you going to support an inferior product for quadruple the cost? You got to ask yourself that. So I think that's the takeaway. And again, I'm going to leave. I'm done talking because I'm feeling like I talked a lot. But at the end of the day, what I want you to understand, if you come to MakerFlo, no matter where the product is coming from, Antarctica, Fiji Islands, Hawaii, Alaska, America, China, it's always going to be with quality in mind.
Guys, this is why transparency is the future of sourcing products. And we will get the opportunity to source products from the US, and we are going to be going into those factories, recording the same types of videos we did in China to continue to bring you guys the transparency of how things are done in the US as well. So stay along in our journey, guys. We thank you for watching this and listening in. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on our new Instagram. It's John and Mark. Make sure you follow MakerFlo as well on Instagram. Follow our journeys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.